Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Rukus Reviews. Today I'm going to be reviewing Santorini by Roxley Games. Santorini is a two-player game that technically supports 3 or 4 players, where you take the role of a god, moving your 2 little workers around the island of Santorini trying to build a better tower than your opponent. I say it technically supports 3 to 4 players because 2 players is definitely the recommended player count, though it does come with a third set of characters, and there is a team variant role for when you're playing 4 players. And I guess technically that means you could also play it with 6 players. It's a quick game that takes less than 30 minutes to play and has 0 luck. So let's take a look at what I thought of Santorini. The components in this game are absolutely amazing. I love the pieces that this game came with for building your towers. When building a tower, you place down the first level, and then you place the second level on top of it, and then the third level on top of that. And then if you want to block somebody from being able to stand on top of this third level, you can place the dome on top of that. These pieces are very simple, it's a very elegant look to it, it's very gorgeous. And even the board has a 3D element to it with some very simple yet beautiful art from who is currently my favorite artist in the board game industry, Mr. Cuddington. And then of course, once you're done with the basic game and you want to go into the more complex game, you've got the God Powers. And these cards are absolutely gorgeous. The cute art that they have for these gods and everything, that just the way this theme is presented is just amazing. And you've also got these cute little minis that you can use whenever you move around. There's a girl and a boy, which I really like because everybody basically is controlling one female and one male worker. And of course the golden ram for the golden fleece expansion. The only real issue that I have, which I'm sure is something that was difficult for them to get around, is sometimes these icons that they use at the bottom of these god powers, sometimes they can be actually quite understandable whenever you look at them, but sometimes they're almost useless. To an extent that goes far beyond what most games are, I believe the artwork for this game very much is representative of the gameplay itself. It's simple, it's elegant. Basically in the game, you're moving one of your 2 characters one space in any direction. You can move up 1, you can move down any number of layers. You cannot move up more than 1 level at a time. And then after you're done moving, you build. You have to take both actions every single turn. If at any point you are unable to take both actions, then you lose the game, or the main way to win is to move one of your characters up onto the 3rd level of a building. First person to do that is the winner of the game. And there is 0 luck to it. It's all about strategy. It's about getting your towers built where your opponent isn't going to block you and you can get up on top of it while also blocking your opponent from doing the same thing. And of course there's elements of utilizing other people's towers that they're building, and sometimes your opponent will build a 3rd level tower and your character will be the one who's able to climb on top of it. And then once you've got all that down, then an immense amount of replayability comes from the God Powers. The God Powers are amazing. Every single one of them is different. There are a lot of them in the game, and they all give you some ability to do something that you couldn't do before. There are some that are similar, like there's one that allows you to build an extra time before you move. There's one that allows you to build an extra time in the same spot that you built the last time, and one that allows you to build an extra time in a different spot that you built the last time. And there are basic ones like those, but then there become some more advanced ones. The last time I played, we played with Medusa, who actually turns the other player's workers into stone. When she's standing next to them at a level higher than they are, she gets to remove their player from the board and build an extra tower piece where they were standing, thus giving the opponent 1 fewer worker to use and giving her an extra piece that she got to build. And the character I played that against was Hypnos, who actually causes any of his opponent's characters that are higher than their other character to go to sleep. That brought a nice little balance there because yes, her character needed to be higher to be able to use her ability, but also she couldn't move her characters that were higher unless both of her characters climbed up to the same level. The strategy in this game is amazing, and I enjoy getting a good character just as much as I do my opponent getting a new character, which is something I don't think I've ever said about a game. I really enjoyed playing against Medusa in the last game that I played because I enjoyed the strategy that was added in trying to prevent her from winning just as much as I enjoyed the strategy that was added in trying to make myself win. Now, as I said, the icons not always entirely useful whenever you're just looking at a card. If you've never played it before, then you really shouldn't be looking at the card and just determining what you think the ability is based on that. But you can look in the book, and the book is very clear about what the powers are, and each power has a symbol here and then a number below it. And that symbol tells you what group of gods it's in. This one is in the advanced group. And then it tells you what number it is in that group. So you can look at them, and they're also in alphabetical order within each group. So you can just look in there, kind of figure out what the power is. The powers are almost always simple enough that you don't really need to look again to figure out what your power was. You should be able to remember it. And the icons, if for some reason you don't remember, they may be able to help you a little bit with, like for instance, a character that can build in the same spot twice or can build in 2 different spots. Well, the icons that are on theirs could help them to remember just in case they forget where they're allowed to build their second time, or when they're allowed to do that building, or if they're allowed to do an extra move, when they're allowed to do that sort of thing. Of course, then if you get through all of those gods and you want even more replayability, aside from the fact that you can replay those gods against other gods, and that changes the strategy that goes there, then there's the Golden Fleece expansion. And the Golden Fleece expansion comes with even more gods and heroes. Now, the Golden Fleece expansion, I would say, is where my biggest issue with the game comes in. Now, there are some good gods in that expansion, and, they add to the game quite a bit, which is great. But the actual elements of the Golden Fleece gameplay, I feel, are less good than playing it the other way. Basically, in the Golden Fleece expansion, after you've placed your workers, then you place the Golden Ram somewhere on the board. Anytime a character starts their turn with one of their characters next to the Golden Ram, they're able to use a god power that was pulled to be represented by that ram. Now, the thing about this is that, yes, it gives both characters access to the same god power, which is kind of interesting because it changes the strategy up a little bit, but you have to kind of sacrifice one of your characters from being able to just move wherever you want them to be able to do that, because you have to have somebody next to the ram to be able to utilize the power. But having a difference in god powers, I enjoy generally more than having the same god power. And then there's just the fact that once you move away from that, you don't have access to that god power anymore. Now, I think it would be interesting to have a god power that you have in your hand and then play with that, which technically this is a board game, so you can kind of house rule whatever you want to whenever you're playing it. And the other one is the heroes. Now, my big problem with the heroes is that you can only use them once. Now, they suggest in the book, one of the suggested ways to use it is for someone who's more advanced to use a hero power playing against someone who's less advanced using a god power. And I can see that as definitely being a legitimate way to play and a good way for you to introduce somebody, or if you're someone like me who absolutely loves strategy games and you're playing against someone who doesn't, or playing against someone who's new, then it makes sense to kind of give them the advantage of having a god power versus you just having this power you can only use once. But the game actually suggests that you play a hero power against a hero power. And this is basically just like playing the basic game with the ability to once do something different. And I don't really care for that much of a shakeup. If I'm going to play the basic game, I'm going to play the basic game. If I'm going to have a different power than my opponent, I would rather have a different power than my opponent through the whole game. The way I like to do this is to actually draw more than one. And you can let people know what everybody has at the beginning of the game, and then they kind of keep it a secret, or however you want to. Again, this is not in the rules, but this is a house rule that I like. So I like to play it where you have 3 cards in your hand, and you can play any of those 3 cards at any time during the game. Because that really kind of adds to the suspense. When is he going to play his power? How is he going to use it? Which power is he going to play? There's not a lot to say about this game. There's not a lot to this game. And that is exactly the way that it's meant to be. It's easy to teach, easy to learn, and the mechanics are very simple. But the strategy of the game can be very complex. It all depends on who you're playing against. I absolutely love this game. It is a phenomenal game. From artwork to components to gameplay. It is simple, it is smooth, it is sharp, it is just absolutely amazing. You can tell that a ton of work was put into every aspect of this game, balancing it all out, making it all just flow together so well. This is my favorite strategy game. It is my favorite two-player game, and it is my favorite game to play with my daughter. Well, I hope you enjoyed this look at Santorini by Roxley Games. Feel free to comment below and let me know what you think, or if you disagree with any of my opinions. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Until then, Rukus rest.